Supporting kids with ADHD takes patience, understanding, and the right tools. That's where we come in. This is ADHD Connect with Dr. Tish Taylor, your go-to podcast for expert advice, real solutions, and encouragement every step of the way.
Hi, this is Dr. Tish Taylor, and welcome to this episode of ADHD Connect, my podcast where we talk about all things ADHD with children and teens. Today, since it's a timely episode, so I'm going to be talking about gift ideas, holiday gift ideas. So if you have a child or you know a child or teen who has ADHD, and you're thinking, what can I get them? Or even a little stocking stuffer idea. I have some ideas for you. Ones that won't hit you in the face, with ADHD, but are often things that I find children and teens like, or, might spend some time doing. So here's some ideas if you're, scratching your head for what all to get this holiday season. So first, a lot of times I see children, now not every child's alike, of course, but a lot of times I see children with ADHD who like building kinds of toys. They like visual building, they like creating things. So Legos, any kind of like those tangrams or geometric shapes or those wooden block shapes, those tend to keep them pretty entertained. There are also those interlocks blocks. So it's INTERLOX. Those interlocks can also be pretty popular, and children can really like those. I would also tell you, I'm not getting any kickbacks from any of these things. So I have no product kickbacks whatsoever. So this is just me telling you the things I have noticed over the years, that most children tend to really spend more time on and have an interest in terms of things they like to do and activities and games. So any kind of building toy, I see that is often a very popular one because they can use their hands, and a lot of times I see them concentrating on it. And so Minecraft is similar, right? I'm trying to give you ideas that are not electronic or screens or video games, but Minecraft is very similar to what I'm talking about in an electronic version. Also Tetris, right? That was such a great game. If you find a Tetris game that you think would be stimulating enough, maybe for younger children, that might be a really good one too. Kinetic sand. So it's pretty sensory. You can mold different things out of it. It doesn't tend to be too messy. So that's also a good one. So you might consider that one for kids. You could also consider they call them noise canceling headphones or ear muffs that are kind of like, letting drown out some of the sound, especially if you have a child who gets overstimulated in loud noises in large family groups. Maybe there could be something they listen to, but a lot of times just having those to drown out some of the sound if they get overstimulated, that can be something good that they would like. Earbuds, if they're a little older, those are less conspicuous, and you can use earbuds to either listen to something else or again drown out some of that noise that can be overstimulating. Fidgety kinds of things. The playable art ball. So it's playable art, A-R-T, ball. So to me, it looks like DNA. Like whenever you see those DNA kinds of circles, it looks like that. So they have different colors and they're all connected, and you can move them and manipulate them and form them into different shapes. So a lot of kids with ADHD can do that and listen to something at the same time. So I think that's really kind of a fun one. You have to use both hands with it, but it's not very big. So it's not too distracting, I would say. Also Rubik's Cubes. Now, some kids are better at this than others. So some kids are going to like it more than others, but I have seen some kids where they can whiz through those Rubik's Cubes. Now, there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to solve a Rubik's Cube nowadays, but if they're logical thinking, if they're sequential thinking, and if their mind moves pretty quickly, they might like a Rubik's Cube. And now there's a lot of varieties of Rubik's Cubes now. That might be an idea.
Looking for expert-led courses, trainings, and tools to support your child with ADHD? The ADHD Store has you covered. Explore practical, research-backed solutions designed to help families and educators navigate challenges and build success at home, in school, and beyond. From behavior strategies to executive function support, you'll find the resources you need all in one place. Visit tishtaylor.com and check out the ADHD store today.
A fidget you probably have not heard of. It's called a fidget Newton. And actually they're like Fig Newton, Newton. Actually, there's a lot of varieties of these fidget Newtons, but David makes these himself and he created them. And they're like two pieces that go together. And it's like, to me, it looks kind of like an Oreo cookie. But there's magnets that hold them together. Like they hold them, but you can separate them and you can manipulate them in your hand. And they're made from leather. So they're soft. And they, like I said, there's magnets in there and you can just kind of continually manipulate those in your hands. They're circular and soft. And so there's a real sensory piece to them. There's a fidgety piece to them. They are not loud. So they're pretty, I think you can use them in a lot of instances. The only thing I would say is if you have a child, a younger child, their hands might be too small for manipulating them, but you might look on his website called Fidget Newton. And I just discovered those. So I think they're great. Other ideas. So another game. So kind of a toy, but a game like Rush Hour Traffic Jam. If you haven't played that one, I think that one's really fun. It's a logic game and it's a little grid and you have these little cars, plastic cars and trucks, and you have to kind of find your way out of the exit. And so you set the cars up in different formats and they give you cards to know what those are. But it's a logic, sequential reasoning kind of game. And again, very visual, tactile, and you just kind of work yourself out of the traffic jam. And they have easy, medium, and difficult kinds of puzzle or problems. So you might check that out. I think that would be good for children and maybe even up to early teens. Activities. So some children are good at sports and good at team sports, and anything related to that would be great because we want the physical activity and them cooperating with peers. That's great. Some children with ADHD, team sports are not their thing, and coordination in some of the sports is harder. And I have found that some of those children really do well in martial arts. So that may be a consideration if your child has more difficulty in team sports or some other just sports in general. I have found that martial arts is very specific. I mean, you know exactly what you need to do to move to the next level. So it gives you feedback and you get rewarded, if you will, because you can move up the ranks and move up belts and move up the levels. And it's very specific, tells you exactly what to do. And there's a lot of self-control and specific direction within martial arts. So maybe lessons or an introduction to that or a martial arts camp or something like that might be worthwhile. But again, if they're involved in any other sports or activities, continue to support those. A couple of ideas about journals. So this would be obviously for probably teens or an older child. But a bullet journal, if you haven't heard of bullet journals, that's really a journal where you can just kind of organize your thoughts in a very simple way, like bullet points. So it gives the person like, oh, I don't want to forget. Maybe you could write, kind of, I have 3 things on my list to do, or just kind of jot things down quickly, simply. And, it's one way of recording it. So that's a bullet journal. There's also a 5-minute journal. And that is a way of it's introducing some, summarizing some thoughts and feelings, but in a positive way. So there's some aspects of gratitude within the 5-minute journal and just kind of general emotional positivity, ways to kind of express emotion and what kinds of things have happened and how can I kind of summarize and jot that down for the day. So it would be an exercise in kind of keeping your mindset positive, kind of keeping your mindset toward gratitude. It doesn't take very long and it's pretty simple. So I think that would also be great. Again, with ADHD, you don't have to write too much, but it does kind of bring your thoughts to something specific and something positive and helps you work through that. So those are my ideas for this year. So if you're searching for ideas, little gifts you could give, stocking stuffers, you might consider some of those or look those up online. So until next time, have a great holiday.
That's a wrap on this episode of ADHD Connect. Want more strategies and support? Visit tishtaylor.com for expert resources. And don't forget to subscribe and share. Until next time.